Hey everyone, my name is Paul Vacheski and welcome to the Real Estate Classroom YouTube channel where my mission is simple, that is to help you pass your real estate exam the first time. Today we're going to do key real estate words 116 through 125 of 300, so let's get going. So in today's real estate exam prep video, we're continuing our series on those key real estate vocabulary words you need to know. These terms all evolve around deeds and title. Deeds and title. So let's start with 116. What is title? Someone has title to a parcel of land. They simply have ownership. Title in real estate simply means ownership. Now, that owner may have three different types of ownership. We call this the quality of the estate that they own, or the quality of that estate for the piece of property that they have title to. The owner may have fee simple title, or sometimes called fee simple absolute. Fee simple absolute title simply means that they have those bundle of rights that I've discussed in previous videos, where they have the right to sell the property, they have the right to lease the property, they have the right to the air above the property, they have a right to the minerals below, they can farm the ground. They have those bundle of rights. The current owner may also have what's called fee simple defeasible title, which simply means that there is something that is defeating fee simple absolute. There are certain restrictions placed on the current owner by the previous owner when they transferred title. Or the current owner may have a life estate. Now, it's very important to also understand that the current owner may also transfer title using a deed and impose these same three types of title. So let me give you an example. Maybe I own this piece of property, fee simple absolute, so I can do whatever I want with it. But I'm going to transfer this title or this property to the new owner, but I'm going to transfer fee simple defeasible title. I'm going to do that for maybe a specific reason. So for example, maybe I'm transferring title to the city of Los Angeles, and my requirement is, if I'm going to do this, the city of Los Angeles must use the property only for a city park. If it becomes anything other than a city park, then they don't own it anymore. All right, that is an example of where the city of Los Angeles owns that piece of property that I transferred title to, but there was something preventing the city of Los Angeles from having absolute ownership. So there is something defeating the city of Los Angeles from having fee simple absolute. Or maybe I'm going to transfer title as a life estate. All right, so that's a key concept to remember, and I've done previous videos on this very thing. Now let's talk about the second paragraph. It says the owner may hold title with other people or by themselves, by joint tenancy with rights of survivorship, tenants in common, tenants by the entirety, sole ownership, which is also known as severalty ownership, or community property. So what do I mean here by that? Well, I transfer title to you. You hold the title, meaning you're the current title holder. You have ownership. Now you are going to designate how you hold title. You may be married, so or not. Marriage is not a requirement, but let's say you're married and you want to hold title to that property with your spouse as joint tenancy with rights of survivorship. Maybe you're a single person, so you're going to hold title in severalty. Maybe you're married and there's community property, and so you're going to hold title to that property as community property. I did previous videos on how an owner holds title, but in this particular video, I just kind of wanted to outline the mechanics of how this all works. Title, when we're talking about title, remember, we simply mean ownership. Number 117, what is a deed? Well, a deed is a document. It's a legal instrument that transfers title from one person to another, and it is considered the evidence of that transfer of title, okay? And a deed can also represent the quality of the estate. And I did previous videos on that as well. So for example, I'm going to transfer title to you and I'm going to give you a life estate. So that represents the quality of the estate. Or maybe there's a deed restriction that I'm going to place in there. That deed is going to represent the quality of the estate. So it is a evidence of a transfer of ownership, but also represents the quality of the estate. Number 118, the grantor. Remember, every person in a real estate transaction has a legal name. And in this case, we're talking about deeds and title. So therefore, when we transfer title using a deed, there's a grantor and a grantee. So number 118 is a grantor. That is the seller. The seller conveys title or ownership of real property to the grantee who receives that ownership. Now, I asked this question because the real estate commission or the real estate exam loves to ask this. How many grantors does it take to transfer successfully title? And the answer is all grantors must sign the deed. All grantors must sign the deed for complete transfer of title to take place. Number 119 is a grantee. Remember, a grantee is the person or the entity, because it can be an individual person, it can be more than one person's, or it can be a legal entity such as a limited liability company or a corporation that's going to receive the title. Now, the grantee is the person or the entity that's receiving title from the grantee. All right, number 120. There's a term called livery of season. Now, livery of season, the term season can be spelled two different ways. I have them on your screen here. They both mean the same thing. It simply means a transfer of possession of a parcel of land. Now, the livery of season is typically evident in deeds. And here's why. See, when we transfer title ownership to a piece of property to a new owner, there's a couple of legal rights that are also transferred. So we have the legal right of ownership or the legal right of title that's transferred to the new owner. But also separately and individually, there is the legal right of possession. Remember, everyone and everything has to have a legal term or a legal name. And in this case, the legal right of possession when we're using a deed is called the livery of season. So the term livery of season actually goes back to Old English common law, where in the day the king owned everything. He was the legal title holder, and he would transfer the legal right of possession to a landlord who then had the right to farm it with peasants and so on and so forth. But that landlord never owned it. They were the lord of that property. In today's world, the term livery of season is evident in all deeds where we transfer not only legal ownership, but the legal right of possession as well. So the term livery of season simply means the transfer of legal possession. Number 121, the granting clause. This goes along with the term livery of season. It identifies the grantor, it identifies the grantee, and then it goes on to state that this property is being transferred or titles being transferred from this party to that party. We call it the words of conveyance. Number 122, habendum clause. Now, a habendum clause in a deed or a lease simply defines the type of interest or the type of rights or the quality of that interest or the quality of those rights that are going to be enjoyed by the grantee upon receiving the title or upon the lessee when they receive the legal right of possession. So let me give you an example. Number 123 is our next word, acknowledgement. So where do we see an acknowledgement and how does it apply to deeds? Now, several legal instruments and documents require acknowledgement. For example, a divorce decree has to be acknowledged. In real estate, a deed must be acknowledged. There has to be an acknowledgement. And an acknowledgement is done by a notary public. So a notary public is going to sit down with the actual grantors, those that own the property, because the grantors sign the deed, And what's happening is the notary public is acknowledging that, number one, that this person or persons are in fact the actual grantors. And yes, they did by, with no coercion under their own free will, sign the deed, therefore signing their legal interest in the property over to the grantee. That is number 124. What is constructive notice and why is it important in real estate? Well, constructive notice is basically the act of recording a document to give the world notice of what just happened. So if we record a deed upon the transfer of title at the courthouse, what we're saying is we're giving the world constructive notice of this transfer of title. This deed has been recorded, and now everybody has a right to know that it exists. This transfer exists. Number 125 is real estate transfer tax. Sometimes it's called a deed transfer tax, a doc tax, or a documentary stamp tax. Listen, every local government and state government has figured out how to transfer or tax the transfer of title. That's really all this tax is. They are taxing the transfer of title. Every jurisdiction calls it something different. And that's all. Hey, if you're going to continue studying, check out this video right here. If you have not subscribed, please do so. Click the circle to my left. Comments and questions down below. Love you guys. See you in the next video.